Hi everyone, how are you doing? I hope that your week is off to a fantastic start and I would love to hear how you are. So please do pop in the comments, say hello, let me know how you are doing, how your week is going so far, and let's connect. So today I wanted to share a little bit more TA theory with you. So TA stands for Transactional Analysis. It's a form of it's a piece of psychoanalysis theory that looks at a little bit like a social psychology. It looks at the way people interact with each other, and it gives you information about what is going on at a psychological level. So in other words, what's going on beneath the surface when you are interacting with people, when you're in relationship with somebody else, and when things are not going so good. So in other words, like when you're having like that same old argument with someone, or you feel like you're saying one thing but actually you mean something else, or perhaps someone says to you, the words that they're saying sound okay, but the tone and the body language kind of imply that they mean something else from what they're saying. So that's called a game. And what TA does is it looks at the games that people play and it makes sense of them. And it offers these really easy to understand models. So in other words, like little pictures, diagrams, models that illustrate this is what's going on when you are in this type of game. And what is so amazing about this is if you're like me, you have a natural kind of curiosity about what's going on inside people's heads. And that's kind of what led me to TA is, I've always been fascinated by psychology, and that's why I did an undergrad in psychological counseling and why I ended up being a coach. Because I'm always striving to understand why people do the things that they do. And I must say that since I moved into coaching, the focus has become a lot more about how can you start doing things differently. And that's why I love TA so much, because TA speaks about, okay, so you've been doing it this way, that way's not really working, how can you start doing it differently so that you get a better result? So that you have better relationships, so that you start feeling more autonomous. So yeah, more empowered. So that's really what TA is all about. So last week I shared a couple of different bits and pieces from TA, and today I want to share a piece of theory called life positions. So what this looks like is it's almost like a window looking out at the world, and this window has 4 panes of glass, if you could imagine that. And depending on which pane you're looking through, it distorts the way that you are seeing the world and seeing yourself in the world. So remember that because it's about you looking through this pane of glass, it's really about your perspective. So just because you are seeing things a certain way doesn't mean that they are that way. It means that that's how you're choosing to see it, because that's the pane of glass that you're choosing to look through. So let me explain what each pane of glass represents, and then we'll see, how does that apply to you? So the first pane of glass is the one that you really want to be striving to look through most of the time. And this one is called I'm okay and you're okay. So when I look through that pane of glass, I am believing that I am okay. Now, okayness in a TA sense means that I am empowered, I am fully authentic, I am respectful of myself, I know my boundaries, I honor my needs, I am truthful, I am kind and compassionate, I look at the bigger picture, I am creative and I am resourceful and I can figure out solutions to problems. So that's kind of what okayness means in TA terms, and it sounds like quite a mediocre word, but actually it has this really powerful meaning. So when I'm looking through that first pane of glass, I'm going, I'm okay. But not only that, I believe that you are okay too. So what this means is that when I'm in a conversation with you, or if I'm in a relationship with you, and I'm believing that you are okay, it means that I respect you, and I believe you have a right to put down boundaries, and I need to respect them. I believe you have a right to an opinion. I believe that you are empowered, and that you are resourceful and whole and can problem solve, and that you are creative, and that I can support you and I can show empathy for you, but I don't need to rescue you because you're okay, and I know that you can handle it. So when you're looking through that first pane of glass and you're saying, well, I'm okay and you're okay, you can see it's a very energized place to be. And it's definitely a place where you can actually connect with someone from this real adult level of both being in a good place. So if a problem were to arise between you, you would be able to respectfully and authentically find a solution that suited both of you. So it's a really good place to be. Yeah, it's a really good outlook to have. Now let's look at when things don't go quite so perfectly. So the next pane of glass, when I look through it, then my view on the world changes. With this pane of glass, I'm believing that I am okay, but you are not okay. So again, I am empowered and I am slightly better than you are. So with this one, even though there's still okayness, it's actually a false sense of okayness. Because if I'm believing that I'm okay and you aren't okay, then I'm seeing myself in a one-up position and you in a one-down position. And that's not very respectful. So even though it feels like okayness, it's not really okayness. Because for me to think I'm better off than you, or I am able to problem solve better than you, for me to believe that you are down from me and you're not okay, that's not authentic to my true nature. Does that make sense? Let me know. So when I'm looking through that and I'm thinking I'm okay and you're not okay, I would probably be looking at you as if you might be a victim of sorts. So it kind of plays out in two ways. It could play out in the way where I'm a rescuer and you're a victim, and I see you struggling and I think, shame, you can't figure it out, I'm going to have to step in and do it for you. So it comes from like quite a kind, compassionate place because I'm wanting to look out for you. But because I'm seeing you as not able to look out for yourself, that is a bit disrespectful. And it invites you to feel that way. So remember, this is my perception. It doesn't mean that you actually are a victim and that you can't figure it out. It means that I'm seeing you that way. So if we're in a relationship of any kind, and I am treating you, I'm sending out that energy of you're not okay, I don't think you're okay, you're going to feel that, and you're going to feel disrespected, and you're going to feel disempowered by me. So that's why there's not really okayness there. So that's the one way it plays out. Another way it plays out is I might think I'm better than you. So I might see your not okayness as you are weak, or I'm smarter than you, or I'm better than you, or, you know, it might not come from quite such a kind and compassionate place. It might come more from a bossy and controlling place and go, well, you know, I'm better at this than you are, so you better listen to me. So it can come across quite dominating. So that's obviously not a very respectful place to be either, because when I discount your ability or your right to have a voice and I overly assert my own voice, I'm putting you down, and that's not going to feel good. So things between us are not going to be okay. Hope you're with me so far. If you have any questions, please pop them in the comments. So the next pane of glass, the third pane of glass, when you're looking through it, you're believing, I am not okay, but you are okay. So this is interesting. This is where I feel disempowered and I feel like things are not okay in my world right now, and I'm not able to deal with what's going on in my world right now. I'm not okay. I might discount my right to have an opinion. I might keep really quiet. I might withdraw. I might be scared to speak up. Perhaps I think I'm not capable of figuring this out, or I'll never learn that new skill. I doubt myself. It's like quite low self-esteem or self-confidence. So I am very much not okay. However, I think that you are. And again, this is a false sense of okayness, because what's happening is I'm putting you up on a pedestal and I'm putting me way back down on the ground. So you're up and I'm down, and that's not okayness really. So I might think that your voice is more important than mine. And so that's why I will kind of become overly compliant and totally lose my voice in the process. So imagine if you were on the receiving end of that, what that could invite in you, because I'm seeing you as being better than I am, that might invite in you a feeling of thinking that you're better than I am. So we say that you treat people how to treat you. You teach people how to treat you. So if I'm putting out the vibe of your needs or your opinion or you are more important than I am, I'm basically telling you it's okay to treat me that way because that's how I'm treating myself. So it's definitely not a very good place to be. And likely what will happen is the boundaries between us will not be nice and firm and strong. And that doesn't lead to a fully intimate and authentic relationship. And remember, this is not just romantic relationships. These are any type of relationship that you're in. Even with a work colleague, you want to be able to be honest and yourself and authentic. Like how you are in the different areas of your life. It would be wonderful if you didn't adjust who you are to kind of fit into the circumstances. Like for me, the ultimate goal is to be exactly the same with my best friend as I am with a client, as I am with my boyfriend, you know? So for me, that's kind of the ultimate goal, but for you, maybe it's a little bit different, and that's okay. All right, so the last pane of glass, when I'm looking through that pane of glass at the window, I'm feeling like I am not okay, and I'm believing that you are not okay. So this is a very low energy place to be. When I'm looking through this, my perspective on the world is quite hopeless. And I'm thinking, well, I'm not resourceful, I'm not okay, I'm not able to find solutions, my voice doesn't matter, my needs aren't important. And not just that, but I don't believe that you are so well off either. I don't think you can find a solution to your problems. I don't think that your opinion really matters much. In my opinion, it's kind of the place where relationships die. Sounds quite dramatic, but you know what I mean. I think sometimes, let's say a romantic relationship, I think sometimes when you choose to walk away from the relationship, you've been in that place where you've believed that actually I can't find a solution to this, and I don't think you can either. So yeah, it's not a place I typically find myself. But I can think of examples of different points in my life where I've certainly been there in that moment. So how is this information useful? This I'm okay, you're okay, I'm not okay, you're not okay, I'm okay, but you are but I'm not. How is this useful? Before I say that, let me say this. You can change which pane of glass you are looking through on this window, and in any moment, and you can change it multiple times in one conversation. So you might think of a particular person in your life and think, oh, with that person, I often find myself in I'm okay and they're not. But sometimes those reverse a little bit and I believe I'm not. So how that could play out is perhaps you take on a little... Oh, there's a fly. Perhaps you take on more of a leadership kind of controlling role in the relationship. So you make the decisions, you're the one who figures stuff out, who pushes it forward, all of that. And perhaps what's happening there is that you're discounting the other person's ability to be part of that decision making. So you're believing that you're okay, but they aren't. What can happen is when you overdo that and your leadership becomes controlling and perhaps dominating, you're not going to feel okay about that because it's not true to your authentic nature. So then what happens is you have this weird reversal where suddenly you're not okay and the other person is, and you've got to make it up to them and apologize. And it's so interesting. I find it fascinating how this all plays out. Anyway, but the point that I wanted to make there before I nerded out on my TA theory is that you won't typically be looking through one pane of glass at all times or in every relationship. You will likely move around, and there will be times when everything is okay, and there will be times when it's not. And it's about having the awareness. This is how you use it. It's about having the awareness, of course, because like I always say, it always begins with awareness. It's having an awareness to know what am I believing right now in this moment? Because if you notice that you're coming from a place of I'm okay and you're not okay, then you have the power to decide not to show up that way, not to treat the other person that way, and instead to find somehow to get into that first pane of glass, to be looking out on that perspective, which is that I am okay, but so are you. And I find this really helpful if I'm going into a conversation with someone that I know might be quite conflicting, So I know that this is likely going to end in an argument, or I'm going to say something that they might not feel so good about, and all of that. I will go into that very consciously aware of coming from a place of believing, honestly believing, that they are okay and that they can handle me giving them this feedback. Because when you start to feel sorry for them because you're about to, tell them something bad, you're not respecting their ability to be okay with receiving feedback. Like, you're treating them like they're not resourceful and strong. So it kind of invites them not to be. Whereas if you approach the conversation as, I know that you will hear what I'm saying, it increases the likelihood that they will. Does that make sense? Let me know. And sometimes they won't. Sometimes you will approach someone or a particular conversation and you'll be really trying to come from I'm okay and you're okay, but they might not hear it that way. And remember, that goes back to what I said in the very beginning, which is whichever pane of glass you are looking through, it is your perspective. It's the way that you are seeing things. So even though you are feeling really okay and you're treating the other person like they're okay, they might not be looking through an okay pane of glass. Excuse me. They might be looking through a pane of glass that tells them that they're not okay. And so if you give them feedback, even if you're coming from a okay place, they might not take it that way. And that's their choice. And that's the beauty of human beings, is that, we get to decide how we want to see things, and we're all at different stages of our healing and our growing journeys, and that's okay. So, yeah. But hopefully, if you're coming from a really authentic place, it will invite them to see that and to feel that. When you're being sincere and honestly, truly respecting someone, they can feel that. So I think it will have a positive effect. And certainly I know from my own experience, it has. So yeah, that's the invitation. Figure out how to get into your place of being okay, and how to start seeing, especially if there's like a particular person that's come to mind while you're listening to this. If you feel like, I know that they don't help themselves, or I know that they don't do the things that they're meant to do, or they always screw it up, or shame, bad things always happen to them. Oh, shame. If that person has come to mind, my challenge to you is try find something to focus on that allows you to see their strengths and their resources, their resourcefulness. Because just because you're looking at them as not being okay, as being stuck, doesn't mean that they are. Okay. So something will have attracted you to that person in the first place. So focus on that. And remember that what you focus on grows. So if you can focus on something that feels really good and that makes you really respect someone, focus on that. And believe, a belief is just a thought that you keep thinking. So if you can keep thinking positive things about this person, or if you can keep thinking that this person is resilient, you will start to believe it. So yeah, it's not about making excuses for someone's bad behavior. It's not about being a doormat and letting people treat you however they want to treat you, because then that's not okay, is it? Then you're in an I'm not okay and you are okay place. And you really want to be in that place of balance where nobody's up and nobody's down. You are equal. There's respect between you. So I would love to know, do you have that in any of your relationships? Can you think of a moment where things went really right between you and another person, even when it was a potentially conflicting conversation, where it could have ended in a disagreement, but you were actually able to find a solution because you were both respectful and authentic and looking at the bigger picture and willing to work together to find a positive outcome? So this can be applied in a work context. It can be applied in a personal context, from the perspective of being a parent and a teacher, anything really. Honestly, that's why I love TA, because it's so flexible and adaptable to any relationship. So I'll definitely be sharing more TA with you because it's a passion of mine, and the group program that I'm putting together for later in June, that will be pretty much based on TA theory. So yeah, definitely be sharing more of that with you guys. I hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions at all, please let me know. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. I'm sending you so much love. Thank you so much for listening in. Bye, guys.